The 1987 Goldpin Coca Cola Classic sees the clash of Ian Hodson from Auckland, New Zealand, and his opponent from Chatswood Hills in Brisbane, Tony Rodrick. Your commentators are Steve Mackie and Terry Wenban.
Well, Tony Rodrick has elected to start the match as the higher seeded bowler. He has that opportunity. That's a good opening for him, and Terry Wenban, our co-commentator, is a good mate of Tony Rodrick's. What about that one, Terry?
I think Tony was happy to get away with that one. He dropped it a bit short, ran away to the right-hand side, putting the strike.
On screen, Ian Hodson from Auckland. He's an interior decorator. His highest score is 277. He's the winner of the New Zealand 10-pin Masters this year.
And Ian, of course, the winner of his first match, with a very nice game of 224, the highest game we've had in the tournament so far. He eliminated Western Australia's Tony Rupert with that effort, and he had plenty of strikes in that game, but not quite that time. Well, a confident-looking start for Ian Hodson. He's on his second trip to Australia. He bowled in the South Pacific Classic a few years ago, the first time that New Zealand made its entry into the tournament. Incidentally, the South Pacific Classic gets underway again throughout Australia very shortly, and in 1988, it's an endorsed bicentennial tournament. There's 8 countries coming down to the South Pacific Classic next year, including, of course, New Zealand again, Canada, Malaysia for the first time. Japan's back in the tournament now. But we're back with Ian Hodson in the second frame. He's got a tough opponent in Tony Rodrick. He'll want this one to be a strike.
I was talking to Ian earlier, Steve, and he seems to relish this. He loves bowling on TV, he was saying. In the tournament in New Zealand to come here, he felt nervous, but once he got on TV, he fired well, and he's done very well here so far.
Yes, he had a big series to win the trip to Australia. He had 479 in 2 games, an average of almost 240. You don't bowl much better than that anywhere, and particularly with the lights on. And another confident-looking spare for Ian Hodson, so he has 19 pins in the first frame.
We're now looking at Tony Rodrick. He's a contract cleaner from Chatswood Hills in Brisbane. He has a perfect score of 300. He's won 2 New South Wales Grand Prix, the 86 South Coast Open and Western Open. And he won the 87 Sun City Open here in Queensland.
Well, Tony bowled so well in practice. He had a heap of strikes just before we came on, and Terry, well, he'd be upset with that one because he was looking really, really ominous in practice.
While he was practicing, Tony was devastating, but again, both balls he's dropped short. I think he's just a bit nervous, actually. I think getting that many strikes in practice really doesn't help you when you've got to go out there.
No, it is a disadvantage, and I guess one of the things that we could say to the viewers out there, if you ever do get in a televised bowling match, it's quite likely, there's lots of TV tournaments these days, and you're getting a lot of strikes in practice, sit down and just relax for a while, because there's only so many strikes out there, and you don't want to waste them before the lights go on.
It's probably a better attitude or a better practice to shoot for spares.
Tony very strong in the forearm. That looks pretty good. Boy, he gave that plenty. He really lifted the case off that ball, Terry.
He's lane 15 hooks a bit more than 16, and he knows that, and he's trying to get the ball out more, but when he gets the ball out more, he also lifts it more.
He does get the ball out very wide, though, doesn't he, Terry?
It really is the shot to play in the game today with the urethane bowling balls. If you can get the ball to go out and come back with some authority, you can really generate some power.
Well, there's few bowlers in the sport in Australia that generate more power than Tony Rodrick. In fact, I'd go so far as to say on record that there's probably no one that throws a stronger ball in the game in this country. And of that was helped by his trip to America earlier this year when he went to the Pro Bowlers Members School and attended their Level 1 course over 3 days, learned quite a bit about the game. Back with Ian Hodson now, the leader by about 10.
Just noticed watching Ian Hodson bowl that of the bowlers I've seen here, he is one of the few that really curls the ball behind his back. He brings it from right around behind his back and then out. I mean, most bowlers just bring it up and down in the plane. But he really brings it well behind him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the sport's in its infancy in New Zealand. That sort of thing tends to occur when you first start bowling.
You're watching the 1987 Goldpin Coca Cola Classic. And at the end of the third frame, it's Ian Hodson from New Zealand leading Tony Rodrick of Queensland by 10. Frame, and Ian Hodson from New Zealand leads Tony Rodrick from Brisbane by 10 pins.
Picture of concentration is Hodson. He's getting good carry there, Terry. He thanks the Lord for that one, and well he might.
Yes, look, the ball just goes straight through, carries all the pins. Actually, he's a bit unlucky not to get a strike there. That 6-pin was rocking.
I noticed on the profile shot there that he does look down on his second step. As he takes off, his eyes drop to wherever his hand is, I guess, or wherever his foot is. Let's have a look at that. Well, he didn't do it that time, but he's been doing it on the first shot.
No, I saw his eyes did tend to dip a bit. I don't know what he checks. Maybe he's looking to where he's going. Like, I know in golf, when you're aiming up a putt, you always pick a spot a little way in between where you're aiming. And maybe that's what he's doing. He's trying to line up a spot in between where he's actually shooting at, which isn't a bad practice.
Well, Tony Rodrick talking to himself there. Very, very big hand on this young man. And a fingertip grip. Tony can't believe it. He cannot believe that one. And he's looking up at us for a bit of solace. Well, you'll get no help here, mate. Oh, boy. And look at this carry. Well, maybe that's the new way he should bowl.
Tony's problem here is that he's bowling. He really throws such a strong ball. And with the urethane balls available today, the pin weights that you've got, even when he does that, he still throws a lot of ball.
That looks better. And a good reaction by Tony Rodrick for double, the new leader in this match.
Now, Steve, in your career, how often have you seen it? You've got up, you've thrown a lucky shot, you've got really the break that you didn't deserve, and you come out with a double.
It happens so often. In fact, it happened to Ian Hodson yesterday.
Bit unlucky on that shot. I thought that was quite a good shot.
Yes, it was a good shot. Let's have a look at it go into the pocket again here. A little bit of deflection off that ball. He doesn't turn the ball anywhere near as much as Tony, of course. He's had 5 9s in a row.
You're right. You saw, doing that with that replay there, you saw Ian's eyes drop a couple of times, looking down.
Oh, boy.
He was happy to get away with that.
He certainly was, Alan. He certainly was.
Oh, yes. Well, he was lucky that lane wasn't 63 feet long, and it was 62 feet and some inches. Bit of a dance there. Came good for him. Let's see if he can regain his composure. Oh, that was a good ball by Ian Hodson. That's his 6th 9 in a row. And, Terry, I guess when you're getting 9s, it's the sign of a man who's just a little bit nervous, not quite relaxed in the forearm on the forward swing. He's in the pocket all the time, this man, but hasn't carried a strike yet. Do you think that's
I think you're right, Stu. This is probably the advantage of the way Tony bowls. He can mis-release the ball because of the angle it's coming in. He still gets the carry, where Ian's ball's straighter.
Right. Well, he's covered that one nicely. 95 in the 5th frame for Ian Hodson. Tony Rodrick needs an 8 count or more to be the new leader in this match.
Let's see if he drops this one short.
Anyone want to make a prediction?
No. He's got a bit of a smile on his face, but it'll be all business once he steps up onto the approach. Talking to himself, geeing himself up. Wants a big performance, this man.
When you look how wide he bowls, that's only centimetres away from the gutter.
Oh, man, you can get a lot closer to the gutter than that.
You can.
You can. I've seen well, I've bowled tournaments myself where you hang the ball over the edge of the gutter. It hangs right over. It looks like it's going to go in and then whips back.
You want to be in form.
Well, you would. Terry, I might just say this and embarrass him on national television. He had a gutter ball in the tournament last year, but he came back with a spare. Yes, you can get very much closer to the gutter. That's a good spare by Tony Rodrick. 93 plays 95. He's 2 pins behind in the 5th frame.
It looks as though he's a man who enjoys his game, Tony Rodrick, to me.
Especially when he's winning.
It helps.
Yes, well, he's come to life in the last year or so with a few wins in big tournaments. He's in trouble now.
I'm glad they got a petition up, because after he delivers the ball, he just ran 3 lanes wide. If he runs another one, he'll run into the sideboard.
Let's have another look at it. It's a
So we
good
can
hit.
see where he gets to. There he goes, off to the left, off he goes. Keep going, watch the wall, son.
And much straighter shot there. Good thinking by Tony Rodrick. Terry, you might explain to the viewers the story with that shot.
When you throw a ball like Tony does and you're turning the ball a lot, you've really got to know how to throw another ball to spare with, because you can't throw that hook ball at spares. He uses another ball, he breaks his wrist, throws the ball straight down the lane and really flattens the ball out for the spare.
First strike for Ian Hodson, and he's the leader by 3.
And you're watching the 1987 Goldpin Coca Cola Classic. And at the end of the 7th frame, it's Ian Hodson from New Zealand leading Tony Rodrick from Queensland by 3 pins. Man on camera, Ian Hodson in front by 3.
And there he goes down on one knee. And yes, that's the right thing to do, Ian Hodson. He was too eager to get rid of that ball then. He should have taken just a fraction more time and he might have got a double. That would have put Tony under a bit more pressure, but it didn't happen.
Look at this, Stu. He almost ends up with what we call a Greek church with the 5 count. There's the dance. Says he loves jazz music.
He certainly does. Well, he's got to get back to a spare now. And he's done that. Still the leader by at least 3 pins, even if Tony Rodrick gets a strike. So Tony's been sitting down in this match play style. The bowlers play 2 frames at a time while one sits on the bench, and a hell of a lot of things go through your mind at that time.
And notice after he delivers the ball, he doesn't even bother to watch. Turn around. I'll hear them go down, he says. I don't have to see them. And now it's Tony Rodrick.
Leader by 4 now, Ian Hodson, courtesy of Tony's 9 count after a spare. Spares count 10 plus the next 1 shot, so that's 19 for that frame for him. And good extension, good follow through there. He might have cut it a bit short perhaps, Terry. Let's have another look at it.
Well, on the spares, he doesn't put anything into the spares. He won't follow through with the ball at all. Not at all. There's no value in it. You're only picking out one pin. You don't need to put anything on the ball, so you just throw it at it, walk away from it, basically. Single pins shouldn't pose a problem.
Well, the brand ball that Tony's bowling with here is a hammer, and he'd like to hammer a nail into his opponent's coffin, I suppose, with a strike here. He certainly needs to start a couple. He's 4 behind, and Ian Hodson's looking pretty sharp.
Tony needs to strike here. He really does.
What a ball that was. What a ball. I wouldn't like to be watching that one. Have a look at this one. What a ripper.
The way, this is what I mean, Alan, with the big turning ball, it's very similar to playing golf with Greg Norman, and he hits one and you hit 2 shots. It devastates the pins.
Back with Ian Hodson, a strike to stay 4 in front.
He's done it.
Well, the situation is this. Ian Hodson is first up in the 10th frame, as elected by Tony Rodrick at the start of the match. And if he gets 3 more strikes, well, he's won the match. So this is a most important shot for Ian Hodson. Let's see if he takes a bit more time. He's getting up there pretty quickly.
Yeah, Ian has a chance here to shut the door on Tony in some way. If he can get up and get 2 strikes now, he knows Tony can't win.
Oh, a pressure shot, and he didn't perform. He should have taken just a fraction more time. I thought he got up on the approach too eagerly.
Yeah, that's a practice I've got into over the years. You've really got to take a lot of time, calm yourself down, a couple of deep breaths. This is the ploy in letting him finish first. Tony's very experienced, and he's hoping Ian isn't that experienced, and the pressure will get to him. And in this case, it's worked.
Tony has to stay clean, of course, and hope that Ian doesn't do the almost impossible. He's giving it a try, but not to be, and a game of 183, but a very entertaining game nonetheless. 6, 9 spares, a couple of strikes, an 8 spare, and then a split. So Tony Rodrick has the game won if he can stay clean.
This is right. He was saying earlier that this lane, if he gives it too much room, it'll hang out. So I think his only danger is missing the headpin to the left.
No mistake.
And Tony Rodrick, a very relieved man all of a sudden. His opponent in the next men's match will be another left-hander from Queensland, young Sean Flynn, who'd be watching this match with some interest, I would think, and some trepidation, perhaps.
Tony's very awesome to watch once he gets going. Tony was nervous through the match, and that's why he made the shots that he has made. He was just nervous. Dropping that ball relieved the tension.
Yes, it's funny how a big mistake such as that drop shot of Tony's certainly did relieve the tension. It made him a bit more relaxed. He went on a bit of a run a couple of times with some strikes, and he was a different man after that shot.
Again, as we've seen throughout the whole tournament here, once the tension's off, you can get up there and freely strike. And this Tony's last ball was the best ball he's thrown all game.
And there's Edie, Tony's girlfriend, a very happy young lady.
Big sigh of relief there, Steve.
What a way to finish. A triple to finish with. And Tony Rodrick of Queensland defeats Ian Hodson from New Zealand in the end by 28 pins, 211 to 183. Now ousting Ian Hodson from New Zealand. Wasn't much in it up to the last little bit.
No, I think a few breaks in the first 5 frames might have helped, but Tony put it together, you know, in the 9th and the 10th. Well, that's where it was needed. Split doesn't help in the 10th. You can't recover it.
No. All right, on behalf of Coca-Cola, I've got a cheque here for $450. Thanks for playing in the tournament. Good to have seen you here.
Thanks very much.
The winner, Tony Rodrick. First time we've seen you in the tournament this year, and you've acquitted yourself pretty well so far.
Yes, I bowled rather well that game. I threw a few wayward shots, but overall it wasn't too bad.
Tell me, the one you got a strike with, did you drop that?
I did drop that. I dropped that badly.
And they all went down?
Yes, yes. I was fortunate. You could have left anything with that sort of shot.
All right, well, we'll see you later on in the tournament.
Thanks very much, Alan.
All right, well done, Tony Rodrick. And when we next return to the Goldpin Coca Cola Classic, it'll be the first up match for the ladies.